online dating is like a box of chocolates, literally, because they all look great from their profile, but then once you actually like meet them, it could be a totally different story. So yeah. Online dating. Okay, so I just want to start by giving you guys a brief introduction of my dating life. So as a 30-something-year-old who is single and dating these days, the first time I ever joined an app was in 2014 when I moved to LA, and the first app that I downloaded was Coffee Meets Bagel. And since then, I've tried Coffee Meets Bagel, Tinder, Hinge, Bumble, The League, and yeah, I think that's it. I think they're all pretty unique in its own way, and that's like kind of like the pros of having multiple apps. Yeah, I think the biggest pro for me is that I get to meet so many different people that I would have never met otherwise. Another pro is that you get a general glance at a person and like what they're all about before you even meet them or chat with them. You know, when you meet somebody out at a bar or something, then you don't really know anything about this person, but like you get like a snapshot of their profile through these apps. Like you can see like their education, their occupation, their hobbies and interests. There are many different cons to the apps though. I think just the fact that with all the apps, like people are just kind of being delivered to your fingertips and you really don't have to like work for it at all. People are a little bit more fickle and they aren't as like committal. So let's say like you swipe, I don't even know, left or right, I guess right. You swipe yes to like, let's say 20 different people in a day or a week or whatever, then like you're not gonna obviously like put as much effort into any one particular person. You're gonna be like playing the field and talking to multiple people. And that's great, I think that's fine, but because of that, I think people are like not as invested, and it's like easy come, easy go. So like, I know that we kind of become a little bit pickier and like not as tolerant to anything. Any like one little thing that kind of like ticks you off or maybe like turns you off, you'll probably just move on to the next person. So I'll basically like go through and give you a breakdown of the different apps and why they're different. So Coffee Meets Bagel, you have to connect it through your Facebook account. So that's kind of nice because they match you with people who you have mutual friends with. So you're not a complete stranger, but you're limited to only like a couple bagels per day. With Hinge, it's a really fun platform. I really like this user experience. So you go through and look at somebody's profile and like not only do you see like their photos and like kind of like their basic information, but it's also like you have multiple different prompts that you can choose and answer from. And so it kind of gives you like an easy way to start a conversation more naturally, and also in that way like you can kind of like get to know these different aspects of a person. For example, they have like, what's your biggest fear? 2 truths and a lie. What would your last meal on earth be? Things like that. So I think that's a really fun interactive platform. With Bumble, it's similar in that you get like a snapshot of somebody's bio, like several photos, and then like the difference with Bumble is that the girl initiates the conversation, and you can't start chatting until the girl sends a message. I don't know if I really care for that feature, because I'm a little bit more traditional in a sense when it comes to dating, and so I do like it when a guy approaches me first. The League is another app that I've been on, and with The League, you connect your account to your LinkedIn profile. So I think the concept of this app is supposed to be that, oh no. Anyway, so with The League, you're supposed to connect it through your LinkedIn profile, and I think with that, it pulls all of your data from LinkedIn, so like your current employer, your previous jobs, your education, and so it's supposed to appeal to the more elite crowd, I guess. And like, I know that it was really exclusive when they first started. There was like a wait list, you have to get referrals, and then, or you have to pay for a membership, but I think it's probably loosened up a lot. So there has been a difference in dating in LA versus here, and in my 20s versus my 30s. So I'm just gonna kind of share some stories, but it's pretty interesting. I think like overall it's kind of stayed the same in terms of like what I'm looking for, how I am when I'm on these dates, and I guess like some of the differences is just like my mentality has shifted just a little bit. I'm not as tolerant to certain things anymore, but at the same time, I am kind of more lenient about other things. So for example, I'm not tolerant for any kind of like bullshit and like players, F-boys, you know, like I won't stand for that. It's like, don't waste my time because I don't have any time to waste. But at the same time, I've become a little bit more like open-minded or like lenient about some other things. For example, like I used to be so picky about height, and I know it's like so superficial, but like I always wanted to date somebody who was like 5'10" or 6 feet and up. Really though, 6 feet and up. And now it's like, oh, he's 5'9", fine, I'll still like go out with him. Because height isn't everything, and I understand that. So first of all, I think in LA there are so many people who are in like young adults who are single and just like out there trying to make something of themselves. And you know, most people who are in their 20s and 30s in LA are transplants, like they're not actually from there, so they're very open to like meeting tons of new people, but with that it also comes that they're literally just like going on so many dates, and that's kind of like the culture out there. I think is like, it's a dating culture. You just go on all these different dates, and like whether it turns into a relationship or not, I feel like it is a little bit harder to find people who are looking for commitment and looking for something more serious out there. But then like, because in the DC area, there are more people looking for commitment or something serious or long-term, there are less single people in their 20s and 30s. Most people in their 20s and 30s in this area are already tied up and locked up. So what do I look for when I am swiping? I definitely look at their bio and obviously their photos. They do need to have a bio though. There are some people who are like, I don't know if they're just like lazy or whatever, but like they don't put anything about themselves in their profile. Then like, how am I supposed to get an idea of who you are? I just feel like that's kind of lazy, and it also shows that maybe they're not as serious. Like, I don't need an autobiography on there, but like at least like name a couple things that you're interested in, you know? So basically, like I think an ideal profile would be someone who is attractive to me, has a lot of photos that show that either they're like active or likes to travel. And in their profile, if they mention anything about like food, I'm like, we're good. And that kind of brings me to my next topic that I wanted to talk about, which is common conversation topics. My friend asked me, like, when you go on dates, like, what do you guys talk about? And like for the most part, first dates are kind of like an interview in a way where like you know exactly like what to expect and what you would share. So it's kind of already like rehearsed almost, like, oh, where are you from, or where were you like raised, or where'd you grow up, like what do you do for work, what do you like to do for fun. So with dating etiquettes, some people prefer to chat on the phone before they meet up. I prefer not to give out my number to someone until I meet them in person. So, and also I don't like to talk on the phone with somebody before I meet them, just because like, I don't know, for me, I get weirded out. Like I'm talking on the phone with somebody and building this relationship or rapport, but I've never really met you. I don't know. It's probably just me, but I get weirded out by that. One of the biggest questions that I get asked is like, who should pay? And like, I've had this conversation with my girlfriends and my guy friends, and everybody has like something different to say, but I think for the most part, everyone thinks that guys should pay. And I think I do think guys should pay on the first date. I mean, that's just like, I don't know, like, or maybe it's because I'm like a little bit more old school, but ask anybody older and they will agree with me. I don't know, what are your thoughts on that? Like, if I'm just gonna be completely blunt and honest, I'm just gonna go with it. Yeah, like guys should pay on the first date. One thing that I think is like really bad etiquette is if you are talking about the other girls that you're going on dates with while you're out on a date with me. And you would think that's common sense, but apparently it's not, because I recently went on a date with this guy and he was literally telling me about this girl he went on a date with the day before me.
What the fuck though? Where the love go?
It was really awkward and I felt so uncomfortable. Should you talk about dating history on the first date? For the most part, like I try not to ask about it or talk about it, because I think the first date is more so like just kind of figuring out like who that person is and what they're like. So maybe it is good to ask about your dating history / like marriage history, because now that I am like dating guys who are in their older 30s, there have been a few who have either been engaged before or married, and so it's kind of like, oh, some tips that I can give you. Always drink alcohol on the first date. I think it really just honestly helps to loosen things up. I would say like know your limits and make sure you're not getting like trashed or like drunk, but yeah, I think having like a glass of wine or two can really help to like loosen up the awkward tension that there is. Also, meet outside of the restaurant or like wherever you're meeting, because I really like hate having to like walk into a restaurant and like look around nervously looking for the person, making sure I'm like making eye contact with the right person, because have I made eye contact and like waved at the wrong person before? Yeah, maybe. And like I said before, meet sooner than later, because I've texted with guys for like a week or 2 weeks and got really excited, and then when I like met up with them, it was just a total flop. So that was like a waste of 2 weeks that I was like spending texting with them, you know? Give out a Google Voice number. So like I said, I am not a fan of giving out my real number to all the guys that I'm connecting with through the apps, because then I've had connections where like, okay, the texting was like great, so I gave up my number before meeting them, and like they just drop off the face of the earth, or like, you know, things just fizzle, you never meet up, or you meet up but then it just doesn't work out. So it's like, what's the point of giving out your number and having like all these different strangers out there like having it? I would rather not have that happen. So my friend gave me a great tip. download the Google Voice app, and no, this is not sponsored, but download the app and it gives you a new number where you can like make phone calls and text with. And so I think that's the safest way to give out your phone number, especially if you want to talk with the person before you meet them up. I got catfished. You guys, try to use and upload photos that are recent, because you're not doing yourself any favors by uploading old photos from 5 years ago where you look 5 years younger, maybe 40 pounds thinner, and in his case, like, he also lied about his height, so that was not great. You know, like, why do that to yourself? Just be true to who you are and be honest on these apps. Modern dating is different than what it used to be, and people are just like moving on quicker, and I think that's also part of the reason why it's so hard to find somebody. We're not really allowing ourselves the opportunity to get to that point, and yeah, I think that's a big part of the problem. Sometimes I kind of worry. I mean, not worry, but yeah, I do have thoughts and doubts come into my mind sometimes where I'm like, am I gonna be that one person who's like in their 40s and single? And it's because I was too picky. I feel like I can be pretty stubborn in my own ways, and sometimes, like, you know, if something doesn't really like go my way, or a guy really disappoints me early on, then I'm like, forget it, it's over, you know? And maybe I'm like too quick to dismiss. So yeah, I'm gonna challenge myself to be a little bit better about that and just kind of give things a chance. Maybe I should give myself like a 4-date rule or 4-date challenge, like regardless of whatever happens, like I should at least give him 4 dates, because things seem to end after date 2 or 3. So yeah, that'll be my challenge, and I will put this out there so that you guys can keep me accountable. So if I do go on a date with anybody in the near future, I will try to see if I can make it to date number 4 and see if that changes anything. So hopefully this was entertaining. Have so many thoughts, and my thoughts are all jumbled, so I apologize for all the rambling. I hope I can edit this in a way where my thoughts flow a little bit more seamlessly, where it's not just like all over the place like my mind actually is. All right,